High Commander Vrax stood at the observation deck of the Devastator-class battleship, his 3 pairs of eyes fixed on the blue-green planet below. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Crix, nervously shuffled the stack of reports in his tentacles. "You're telling me," Vrax said slowly, each word dripping with disbelief, "that this backwater dirtball is our next target?" "Yes, High Commander," Crix's voice modulator crackled with anxiety. "The Supreme Council has designated Earth as testing ground zero for our latest neural disruptors." The Zex'thorians weren't just any alien civilization, they were the alien civilization when it came to weapons manufacturing. Their neural disruptors had brought the mighty Kravax to their knees. Their quantum destabilizers had turned the fearsome Yeth Empire into space dust. Even the legendary mechanoids of Sigma-9 bought their defense systems from Zex'thor Industries. "Look at them," Vrax gestured at the holographic display showing various human activities. "They still use combustion engines. They haven't even colonized their own moon properly. Their most advanced AI can barely beat them at board games." "But sir, that's exactly why the Council chose them," Crix explained, bringing up another hologram. "Their primitive nature makes them perfect test subjects. No advanced shielding, no neural dampeners, not even basic psychic defenses." Vrax clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The Zex'thorian weapons industry had been experiencing a bit of a slump lately. The last 3 species they'd subjugated had developed countermeasures far too quickly. The profit margins were getting embarrassingly thin. "And you're absolutely certain about their technological level?" Vrax asked, watching a human video of something called a cat video compilation. "Our deep space scans are conclusive," Crix confirmed. "They spend most of their time arguing about social media posts and making strange dance videos. Their most advanced weapons are practically children's toys compared to our neural disruptors." A cruel smile spread across Vrax's face, revealing rows of metallic teeth, a status symbol among the Zex'thorian elite. "Perfect. Begin the preparation phase. I want deployment teams ready within 1 planetary rotation." As Crix scurried away to relay the orders, Vrax continued watching the humans going about their daily lives, blissfully unaware of the fate that awaited them. These primitives would make excellent proof of concept for the new weapons line. The shareholders would be pleased. "Soon," Vrax muttered to himself, "the name Zex'thor will once again be feared across the galaxy, and it all starts with these simple, primitive humans." He really should have paid more attention to those cat videos. They might have taught him something important about human nature and their strange relationship with what they considered weapons. But then again, hindsight is always 20/20ths, even when you have 6 eyes. The research and development labs of Zex'thor Industries sprawled across an entire asteroid, converted into the galaxy's most advanced weapons facility. Dr. Zoyle, the lead weapons designer, watched with pride as her latest creation hummed to life in the testing chamber. "The Neural Disruptor Mark 7, she announced to the gathered board members, her scaled tail swishing with excitement. "Our most sophisticated neural interface weapon to date. Observe." Behind the quantum-reinforced glass, a captured drachnid warrior, a fearsome creature that could bend titanium with its bare hands, writhed in agony as the purple beam struck its chest. Within seconds, the beast collapsed, its nervous system completely overwhelmed. "As you can see," Dr. Zill continued, adjusting her lab coat with her secondary arms while her primary ones operated the controls, "the Mark 7 targets the basic neural pathways present in all known sentient species. The effect is immediate, devastating, and most importantly, completely untraceable." Board member Thex raised one of his eye stalks. "Untraceable?" "Indeed," Dr. Zill practically purred. "The beauty of this design is that it leaves no physical damage. The victims simply experience complete neural overload. Their own nervous systems do all the work for us. It's quite elegant, really." The board members chittered appreciatively. Corporate espionage was always a concern in the weapons industry, but a weapon that left no evidence? That was worth its weight in dark matter. "We've tested it on 17 different species." Dr. Zill pulled up the holographic test results. "From silicon-based life forms to energy beings. The effect is universal. The neural patterns of all advanced species are remarkably similar once you understand the fundamental." "What about humans?" High Commander Vrax's voice cut through the presentation like a plasma blade. Dr. Zill blinked all 4 of her eyes in sequence, a sign of mild annoyance at being interrupted. "Humans?" Yes, those primitives from Earth. The Supreme Council has chosen them as our next test subjects. Oh, Dr. Zyle's scales shifted to a lighter shade, indicating amusement. We didn't bother testing on them specifically. Their neural patterns are so basic, they barely register on our scanners. The Mark 7 is designed for far more advanced nervous systems. If anything, it might be overkill. Vrax leaned forward, his cybernetic implants gleaming under the lab's harsh lighting. Show me the projected effect on human neural pathways. Dr. Zyl tapped a few commands into her console. A holographic human nervous system appeared, pitifully simple compared to the complex neural networks they were used to studying. See these clusters, she pointed with one of her secondary arms while taking notes with another. Absolutely primitive. They still use electrochemical signals for neural transmission. Can you believe it? The Mark 7 will overwhelm their neural pathways like a quantum storm hitting a paperboat. The simulation showed the weapon's energy spreading through the human nervous system. The board members watched in fascination as the purple energy consumed the holographic human's neural networks. I estimate total systemic collapse within seconds, Dr. Zyl concluded. They won't even have time to realize what hit them. Quite merciful, really. Excellent, Vrax's metal teeth gleamed. Begin mass production immediately. I want enough units to subdue their major population centers in one strike. Let's show the galaxy that Zex'thor Industries still knows how to make an entrance. As the board members filed out, Dr. Zyl began final calibrations on the Mark 7. She'd built her career on understanding how nervous systems worked across the galaxy. The humans would make perfect test subjects, simple, predictable, and completely defenseless against her masterpiece. If only she'd spent more time studying why humans laughed, or how their nervous systems processed certain stimuli, it might have saved the Zex'thorians a great deal of embarrassment. But weapons designers rarely think about laughter. That would turn out to be their biggest mistake. The invasion of Earth began on a Tuesday, which was already a bad sign. Nobody likes Tuesdays. High Commander Vrax had chosen New York City as the first demonstration site. After all, their research indicated that humans always got invaded there first. It must be some sort of tradition. Begin deployment sequence, Vrax commanded from his orbiting flagship. Target the large gathering of humans in the green rectangle. You mean Central Park, sir? Lieutenant Crix asked, adjusting the targeting systems. Whatever, let's show these primitives the might of Zex'thor Industries. The first neural disruptor Mark 7 beam struck the middle of Central Park during a massive yoga session. 300 humans were caught in its purple glow. Vrax watched eagerly through the ship's observation systems, expecting to see mass panic and neural collapse. Instead, he saw something that would haunt his nightmares for years to come. They were laughing, not just quiet chuckles or nervous giggles. No, these humans were howling with uncontrollable laughter, rolling on the grass, clutching their sides. What in the name of the profit margins is happening? Vrax demanded, all 6 eyes wide with disbelief. Dr. Zyl, who had been monitoring the deployment from her lab, frantically analyzed the incoming data. This is impossible. Their neural pathways should be overloading, but instead, they're enjoying it. A second beam struck Times Square. Instead of chaos and surrender, they got more laughter. Tourists stopped taking selfies with the giant advertisements to take selfies with the purple beam instead. Oh God, it tickles, someone in the crowd shouted. It's like a full-body tickle beam. Tickles? Vrax's voice reached a pitch previously unknown to Zex'thorian vocal ranges. Our state-of-the-art neural disruptor, Tickles? Lieutenant Crix, showing either tremendous courage or terrible judgment, pointed to a new development on the screens. Sir, they're running toward the beams now. Indeed, humans were gathering under the purple rays, taking videos with their phones, and even having impromptu dance parties in the neural disruptor fields. Someone had already created a TikTok challenge called #AlienTickleBeam that was going viral. This is a disaster, Dr. Zyl moaned, her scales turning a sickly shade of green. The weapon isn't failing. It's working exactly as designed. We just didn't account for... For what? Vrax demanded. Human neural pathways process certain types of stimulation as pleasure. What we designed to overload their nervous systems is just tickling them very, very efficiently. A new alert popped up on their screens. Humans in other cities were demanding their own tickle beams, claiming it was unfair for New York to have all the fun. Someone had started a petition on change.org. "Shut it down," Vrax ordered. "Shut it all down." But it was too late. Videos of laughing New Yorkers were spreading across the internet faster than the Zex'thorians could retract their beams. #Space Tickles was trending worldwide. Late-night talk show hosts were already writing jokes about it. "Sir," Crix reported, his tentacles trembling, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." The holographic display showed a human in a suit, trying very hard to maintain a serious expression despite clearly being out of breath from laughing. "On behalf of the United Nations," the human diplomat said, pausing to suppress a giggle, "we would like to discuss licensing agreements for your... He lost his composure for a moment before recovering. "Your recreational neural stimulation devices. Our entertainment industry representatives are particularly interested." Vrax stared at the human, then at his weapons, then back at the human. In the background, he could hear Dr. Zill banging her head against her console. "Entertainment industry," Vrax repeated weakly. "Oh yes," the diplomat grinned. "We haven't had this much fun since someone invented bubble wrap. Speaking of which, have you heard of bubble wrap? I think we could do some interesting cross-promotional..." Vrax cut the transmission. For the first time in his career, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, the weapons industry wasn't his true calling. In Central Park, a group of yoga enthusiasts had figured out how to redirect the neural disruptor beam using mirrors, creating what they called a Zen tickle garden. Someone was already selling tickets. Within 48 hours of the failed invasion, humans had changed everything the Zex'thorians thought they knew about warfare, weapons manufacturing, and intergalactic business models. High Commander Vrax watched in horror as the humans not only collected the dropped neural disruptors, but began modifying them. Earth's engineers, it turned out, were far from primitive when properly motivated, and nothing motivated human engineers quite like the prospect of turning deadly weapons into fun toys. "They've done what to the Mark 7? Dr. Zeal screamed, watching the latest Earth broadcast. Her scales had turned completely white, a sign of absolute mortification. "They've made it portable," Lieutenant Crix reported, unable to keep a hint of admiration from his voice, "and they've added something called party modes." The screen showed humans wielding handheld versions of the neural disruptors at what they called a tickle rave. Different colored beams pulsed in time with something called EDM music. The modified weapons had settings like giggle, chuckle, and full belly laugh. "This is a violation of at least 47 weapons patents," Dr. Zale protested. "Actually," Crix consulted his datapad, "Earth's lawyers argue that since we technically attacked them first, all our technology is legally salvage under maritime law, which they've apparently extended to space law through some very creative legal interpretation." Vrax slumped in his command chair. "How many weapons have they collected?" "All of them, sir, and they've started reverse engineering the technology. They're calling it happiness rays now. The first commercial models go on sale next week." The reports kept getting worse. A human company called Tickletech had gone public on the stock market and was now worth more than most mid-sized planetary economies. Theme parks were replacing their roller coasters with neural disruptor experiences. Children's parties would never be the same. "Sir," Crix brought up another report, "you need to see this." The screen showed a human military demonstration. They'd modified the larger neural disruptors into what they called mass joy deployment systems. Entire battalions were equipped with portable versions. Are they weaponizing happiness?" Vrax asked, his cybernetic implants twitching in confusion. "Not exactly, sir. They're marketing it as tactical peacekeeping through forced entertainment. The first diplomatic mission equipped with these devices leaves for the Crab Nebula next month." Dr. Zill, watching from her lab, had to sit down. "The Crab Nebula? But that's where the Grox Empire..." "Oh no." The Grox Empire, notorious for their inability to process humor or joy, wouldn't stand a chance against weapons designed to induce uncontrollable laughter. Earth was about to revolutionize galactic diplomacy with modified Zex'thorian technology, and there wasn't a thing they could do about it. "It gets worse," Crix continued, his tentacles nervously twisting around his datapad. "They've started combining the neural technology with something called social media challenges." The latest viral trend showed humans trying to maintain serious faces while under increasing levels of tickle beam intensity. The Try Not to Laugh challenge, Alien Edition, had broken all previous records for online engagement. Even the weapons testing facility had been compromised. A group of human urban explorers had somehow gotten into the asteroid base, set up a neural disruptor obstacle course, and were charging admission. The facility's security AI had been reprogrammed to give tour guides in something called a funhouse voice. "We have to stop this," Vrax declared, standing up dramatically. "We are weapons manufacturers. We create instruments of war, not. The newest model comes with a built-in bubble machine," Crix added helpfully. Vrax deflated. "A bubble machine. And something called party mode that syncs with something called Spotify." In her lab, Dr. Zill watched as humans continued to innovate with her technology. They'd somehow modified the neural interface to create specific types of laughter, from quiet giggles to full-blown belly laughs. A teaching hospital was studying its potential for therapy. A meditation center had created controlled euphoria sessions. "They're using my neural interfacing technology to make people happy," she whispered in disbelief. "On purpose." The final insult came when the humans sent a formal thank you note to Zex'thor Industries, along with an Earth Patent Office registration for method and apparatus for inducing joy through strategic neural stimulation, and a bill for using their improved version of the technology. "They're charging us royalties on our own weapons," Vrax realized, his metal teeth grinding in frustration. "Because they made them better, by making them fun." Lieutenant Crix checked his messages. "Sir, the board of directors is calling an emergency meeting. Apparently the shareholders are demanding we pivot to the entertainment industry." Somewhere on Earth, a child's birthday party was being revolutionized by a modified Mark VII neural disruptor that now dispensed cake-flavored bubbles while playing Happy Birthday and delivering precisely calibrated doses of giggles. The Zex'thorians had created the perfect weapon. They just hadn't realized that happiness could be the deadliest force in the galaxy, especially in human hands. 6 months after the failed invasion, the galaxy's entertainment industry had been completely transformed. The Zex'thorian stock exchange crashed when their leading weapons manufacturers were outperformed by human entertainment companies specializing in neural euphoria enhancement technology. "Welcome to Happy Zaps," announced the perky tour guide at what used to be the Zex'thorian Planetary Defense Testing Ground. "Today you'll experience the most advanced tickle-based entertainment in the known universe. Please keep your tentacles, appendages, and all sensory organs inside the designated happiness zones at all times." The former military facility had been transformed into the galaxy's premier amusement park. The nuclear missile silos now house something called laugh accelerators. The orbital defense grid had been repurposed into what humans called a cosmic tickle network. High Commander Vrax, now former High Commander Vrax, watched the security feeds from his new office. As Chief Entertainment Officer of Happy Zaps, he had to admit the profit margins were actually better than weapons manufacturing. He just wished it wasn't so undignified. "Sir," Crix, now wearing a colorful uniform with far too many smiley face pins, entered with the daily reports. The new interspecies laugh-off show broke all previous attendance records. Even the Groks are buying tickets. The Groks Empire, once the most feared warrior race in the galaxy, had undergone their own transformation. Exposure to modified neural disruptors had awakened their long-dormant sense of humor. They were now producing the galaxy's most popular comedy shows, though their jokes still tended to be rather militant. "Did you see the latest rankings?" Crix continued, pulling up a holographic chart. "Earth's entertainment sector now controls 60% of the galactic economy. The remaining weapons manufacturers are either converting to joy-based technologies or going bankrupt." Dr. Zill had adapted better than most. Her new research into strategic happiness deployment had earned her 3 Nobel Peace Prizes and a lucrative consulting contract with Disney, Tesla, SpaceX Consolidated. She was currently working on something called quantum cuddles. The cultural changes were even more dramatic than the economic ones. Intergalactic dating shows featured humans teaching aliens how to laugh. Tickle diplomacy had resolved 3 major space wars. The Galactic Council had to install special dampening fields because delegates kept breaking into giggles during serious debates. "We've received another merger offer," Crix reported somewhat nervously. "A human entertainment conglomerate wants to buy Zex'thor Industries outright. They're calling it a hostile happiness takeover." Vrax sighed, watching a group of Arctarian warriors, once famous for their stoic demeanor, giggling uncontrollably in the zero-G laugh chamber. The latest market research just came in, Crix continued. Humans have started franchising their happiness centers. There's now a Tickles R Us on every major space station. The Andromeda Galaxy just signed an exclusive distribution deal. The entertainment revolution had even affected military recruitment across the galaxy. War colleges now offered mandatory courses in tactical joy deployment and strategic humor assessment. The most feared special forces units were being retrained as happiness commandos. A notification popped up on Vrax's screen, the daily feed from Earth. They were testing something new, combining neural disruptor technology with something called virtual reality. Beta testers reported experiencing joy overload and dangerous levels of fun. They're using our weapons of mass destruction to create weapons of mass delight, Vrax muttered, watching humans and aliens alike lining up to test the latest happiness innovations. The final blow to the old order came when the Galactic Academy of Military Sciences was converted into the University of Interstellar Entertainment. Their most popular course, Advanced Neural Euphoria Engineering, from Weapons to Whoopee. Vrax looked at his old military medals, now displayed next to a Employee of the Month Best Smile plaque. The galaxy had changed, and the Zex'thorians had to change with it. At least the retirement benefits in the entertainment sector were better. Sir, Crix interrupted his thoughts. The human delegation is here for the board meeting. They want to discuss something called franchise opportunities and galactic brand synergy. Vrax straightened his new uniform, complete with mandatory glitter accents. Very well, let's go spread some happiness. He never thought he'd say those words without sarcasm. But then again, humans had a way of making the impossible not just possible, but profitable. The first Galactic Peace and Entertainment Summit was held in what used to be the Zex'thorian Supreme Weapons Council chamber. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, especially since the room now featured disco balls where death rays once hung. Chief Entertainment Officer Vrax addressed the assembled delegates from across the galaxy. The former weapons manufacturer had finally embraced his new role, though he still occasionally reached for a non-existent war medal. 1 year ago he began, his mechanical teeth now painted with rainbow colors, mandatory company policy. We thought we were bringing warfare to the next level. Instead, humans showed us that the next level was actually a dance floor. Appreciative chuckles rippled through the audience. Even the Grox delegates, their cybernetic implants now modified to display emoji expressions, joined in the laughter. The humans call it the best failed invasion ever, Lieutenant Crix, now Vice President of Interstellar Joy Operations, added. Though personally, I prefer to think of it as the most successful misunderstanding in galactic history. Dr. Zeal presented the latest statistics from her new research institute, the Center for Advanced Happiness Studies. Neural disruptor technology, when properly calibrated for joy instead of pain, has shown a 99.9% success rate in conflict resolution. The remaining 0.1% just needed a higher tickle setting. The human delegation, led by the same diplomat who had first proposed the licensing agreement and who still couldn't keep a straight face during serious discussions, unveiled their latest initiative, the Galactic Joy Corporation. Think of it as a peacekeeping force, the diplomat explained, but instead of weapons, we deploy happiness. Instead of troops, we send comedy consultants. Instead of war rooms, we have laugh lounges. The transformation of the galaxy's military-industrial complex was nearly complete. Former weapons factories now produced what humans called giggle gadgets. Military academies had been converted into comedy schools. The most feared special forces commanders were now teaching courses in advanced tickle theory and strategic humor deployment. The humans have a saying, Vrax noted in his closing speech, "He who laughs last laughs best." Well, they got us to laugh first, but now we're all laughing together. Even the Zex'thorian shareholders had to admit the profits were better in the entertainment sector. The newly formed Galactic Joy Corporation's stock value exceeded the combined worth of all previous weapons manufacturers. We've received applications from 17 formerly warlike species, Crix reported during the summit's closing ceremony. They all want to join the human-led Happiness Coalition. Even the Void Wraiths, and they don't even have physical forms to tickle. The humans had been officially designated as the laughing species by the Galactic Council, a title they accepted with characteristic humor. Their first act was to organize an intergalactic comedy festival, featuring acts from across the known universe. "You have to admit," Dr. Zill remarked to Vrax as they watched a group of former war ministers taking a class in improv comedy, "they beat us in the most elegant way possible. No destruction, no casualties, just uncontrollable laughter." The final resolution of the summit established the Galactic Charter of Weaponized Happiness, with Earth as its headquarters. The document's preamble, written in flowing script, stated, "In recognition that joy is the most powerful force in the universe and that humans are its most skilled practitioners." As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many wiping tears of laughter from their various types of eyes, Vrax looked at his old commander's insignia, now converted into a badge that read, Chief Joy Officer. "You know what the funniest part is?" he said to Crix. "We actually won, in a way. We did create the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. We just needed humans to show us how to use it properly. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was probably for the best. After all, it's hard to wage war when you're too busy laughing together." And somewhere in the depths of space, the last remaining weapons manufacturer quietly began retooling its production lines. The memo to shareholders read simply, "If you can't beat them, join them, but add more bubbles." 10 years after the Great Tickle War, as humans insisted on calling it, the Galactic Historical Society commissioned a special exhibit. The centerpiece was an original neural disruptor Mark 7, displayed next to its evolved form, a child's party favor that shot sparkly bubbles while delivering precisely calibrated doses of joy. High Commander Vrax, and yes, he'd finally reclaimed his old title, though now it was High Commander of Intergalactic Entertainment, stood before a class of mixed alien and human students at the Galactic Peace Academy, formerly the most prestigious military academy in the sector. "The greatest weapons," he told them, his rainbow-colored mechanical teeth gleaming, "are the ones that bring people together instead of tearing them apart. We thought we were building instruments of war. Humans showed us we were actually creating tools of peace. We just had the settings wrong." The Zex'thorians had learned their lesson, though not the one they'd expected to learn. Their weapons division had become the galaxy's leading producer of entertainment technology, and their profit margins had never been better. As it turned out, people would pay a lot more for guaranteed joy than they would for theoretical destruction. But the real irony, the twist that made the whole saga so perfectly human, came from an unexpected discovery in Earth's historical archives. "You mean to tell me," Dr. Zill had exclaimed during her research, "that humans had been using tickling as both torture and entertainment for thousands of years before we arrived? That they already knew the thin line between pleasure and pain in neural stimulation? Indeed, humanity's complex relationship with tickling had prepared them perfectly for the Zex'thorian neural disruptors. What the aliens had seen as a weakness, the peculiar way human nervous systems processed certain stimuli, had actually been their greatest strength. The legacy of the Great Tickle War extended far beyond mere entertainment. Diplomatic conflicts were now routinely resolved in laugh chambers. The most prestigious peace prize in the galaxy was shaped like a feather. The fearsome Zex'thorian battle cry had been replaced with a universal sound of joy that transcended species barriers. "But do you know what the funniest part is?" Vrax asked his students, pointing to a hologram of Earth. "We chose them because they seemed primitive, because their neural systems were simple, because they still watched cat videos and laughed at practical jokes, and that's exactly why they won." Lieutenant Crix, who had kept his original title but now organized comedy festivals instead of invasion fleets, added the final statistics to the historical record. 0 casualties, 0 destroyed infrastructure, and a 500% increase in galactic happiness levels. The humans had taken the deadliest weapons in the galaxy and turned them into toys, transformed a war machine into an entertainment empire, and convinced the most fearsome species in existence to join their cosmic comedy club. And they did it all while having the time of their lives. As the historical record noted in its final ironic twist, in their attempt to subjugate humanity through neural warfare, the Zex'thorians accidentally discovered what humans had known all along: that laughter is the ultimate weapon, joy is the greatest defense, and tickling should never, ever be underestimated. The plaque beneath the original neural disruptor Mark 7 now reads, "The weapon that failed so successfully It changed the galaxy. Next to it, a small screen plays an endless loop of those first moments in Central Park, when humanity responded to an alien invasion by breaking into uncontrollable laughter. And if you listen carefully in the halls of the former Zex'thorian Supreme Weapons Council, you might hear the echoes of that laughter still, a reminder that sometimes the best way to win a war is to make sure everyone's having too much fun to fight it.